Good day, everybody. Adegbite is my name. I will take you through part 111, which is elements of public administration. This course is one of the interesting and educative course. And however, the part 111 is a 3-unit course which is logically divided into 15 study sessions and 3 parts. As we have seen it, the 3 parts have been highlighted. Then let's look at the overview of the lesson. Meanings of public administrations, concept, nature and scope of administration, and importance and functions of public administration. Then we look at the learning objectives, and by the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand or know or define and explain what public administration is all about, or as a social science. Then you have also need to discuss the differences between the administrations and the management. Also identify the differences between the public and private administrations. Meanwhile, you should also be able to identify the deficiencies of private administration as a social science. Let's start from the definitions of the times. We have said that public administrations is originated from 2 Latin words, which is publicus, people or the public. Also, it also means administration is also has another meaning from 2 Latin words, which is ad and minister, which means to serve or to govern. We are trying to look at the public administrations. What is public administration? As we have said, public administration has to do with what government wants to do, or to get things done, or in order to accomplish some certain objective or goals. Different scholars have looked at the public administration in a different dimension, different view. In a different perspective. We have talked about the Golick and Woolwich in 1937, which defined the public administration as a function that has to do with getting things done, as we have said, and the accomplishment of the defined objective. Also, Adamalekun also defined the public administration as commonly used, which is referred to the activities concerned with the management of government business or study of the activities of government. However, we want to look at the differences between management and administration, and we look at it from different perspectives. We look at it from the meaning, we look at it from the nature, and when we talk about the meaning, we have said something that what government want to do, how can something needs to be done. We are talking about the art of getting things done through others by directing their efforts toward that goal that they want to achieve, or the achievement of predetermined goal. We look at the administrations. There are some people that are involved. Administration is also involved in the formulations of policy, or the broad objective of plans and policy. So you look at it that administration is all about formulating or formulations of policy, and who are those people that are involved in issue of these formulations. Then we look at from the nature aspect, in terms of executing the policy or the functions. Who are those people that are involved in the executing of that policy or make that thing functions well? Then in the administrations, we are trying to talk about the decision making. Who are those people that are involved in decision making of the policy? That is what the administration does. However, we also look at it in terms of the process. That is, management decide who should do it and how it should be done. That is the primary difference between the administrations and the management. Management involve in who are to do it and how it needs to be done, while the administration decide what and when to be done. Who are those people to do it, and when that thing is to be done, that is what the administration is all involved. Then we look at it in terms of the functions. That is, in doing something, the manager get work done under the supervisions of some people. That is, in doing this thing, there are some people, the management, the team that involved that this thing has to be done, and those people that will do it needs to be supervised by people. Then we talk about the administrations, that in terms of functions, there are people that always think, we call them thinkers. Those people that plans in terms of policy, those people that determine those policy. That is, there are some certain things that needs to be planned. Policy has to be determined by some people who are thinking about those policy. Then we also look at the skill too. And when we talk about the skill, we are talking about the technical, conceptual, and human skill. All those machinery, all those things that needs to make things work. Then in terms of administrations, we look at the levels of those people that are involved, the middle level, the lower level, the functions, top level officers, those people that really involved in making those things to be done. Then we also talk about the applicability. That is, we are still looking at the differences between the management and administrations. In terms of it applicable to business concern, that is it profit-making organizations or otherwise? Is it applicable in terms of non-business concern, that is the clubs, schools, and hospitals as an example in administration? Why influence? The management decisions are influenced by the values, opinions, belief, and decisions of managers. That is, with terms of influence, the decisions of the people and matters, the values, those people that influence the policy, the opinions, their belief, their decisions of this manager are so important. Then in terms of the administrations, the administration is influenced by the public opinion, government policy, religions, organizations, and customs of the society. So those are the things when we talk about the influence policy. Then we also look at the status too. The management constitute the employees of organization who pay remunerations. That is in terms of salary or the wages. While in administration, which is represent owners of the enterprise who earn return in their own capital invested or the profit in the form of dividends that they have to pay. By and large, we are also trying to look at the differences between public and private administration. I don't know whether I'm communicating to you. We are still looking at the public, the differences between the public and private administration. And we talk about the business administration, which cover all facets of managing day-to-day operations and decision making for a company or non-profit organization. And when we talk about the business administration, those people that are involved in day-to-day activities in the operations of business or making, whether company has to make profit or even non-profit organization. Business is business. Then we look at the public administrations, which means the most obvious part of government or government in action. That is, it is most visible side of government, particularly the executive arms that implement the plans or the policy and the activities of government. Public administration, like we have said, is the machinery as well as the integral part process through which the government perform its functions, while the private consists of the management of private business enterprises owned and operated by private individuals. We all know when we talk about the private that this business is operating, is owned by the individual. Private administrations, organization activities and operation are centered on the profit making. That is, they are profit making oriented organization. So the private administrations is all about the making profit, because anybody that establish a business want to make the profit. So, and that is why we say it is profit oriented business. However, we need to look at the controls of the public administrations. Like any other organizations or any other part of government activities, it has to have a control of some certain body. We look at the judiciary control, then the pressure group control, and the controls of the ombudsman. And when we talk about the judiciary control, the court have the authority and the right as per constructions to examine the legality and validity of acts of the executive in order to safeguard the citizens' rights. There must be a check and balances. An aggrieved citizens or party can file a civil or criminal suit in the court if his or her rights have been violated, or if any particular act of the legislature is ultra-vires or unconstitutional, that is not in spirit of the constitution and has a corrupt objective. I hope we are understanding what we are trying to say here. However, the independence of judiciary has enabled it to do what? To insert some sanity into the Nigerian public administration. So we also look at the pressure group control. The pressure group has considerable influence and control on government policy or activities, either good or bad. Government has brought this group into the limelight, and they are of a great importance to the government while formulating as well as implementing policy. So in the process, they have influence, they have control on government activities by their own nature or their activities. Before government will formulate any policy or implementing any policy. So the pressure group also have a little influence. So that is a way of controlling the public administration. However, we look at the controls of ombudsman. It is also known as Public Complaint Commission in Nigeria, appointed by the legislature and deal with the complaint made against the legislature or government. That's way of safeguarding the right of the citizen. They deal with all the complaint of corruption made by any citizen against the government, whether you have grievances or anything that is not in order. So it is these people that will look into it in order. That's a way of checkmating the excesses of the public administration. It is also important at this level to look at the importance of public administration. We have said, as a machinery of government, public administration performs a variety of functions which complement the activities of various branches of government. The various functions performed by public administration, like the continuities of government activities. It ensures the continuities of government activities. We also talk about the provisions of employment opportunity for the citizens too. Those people who have not have the job, it is responsibility of government to provide enabling environment or provide an employment opportunity for their citizens. Then we also talk about the resources, how to manage the management of the resources, available resources, to harness, identify all these resources. There are some areas who have that resources, while some area does not have. How can we harness these resources? How can we manage these resources to the benefit of the citizens or the community or the state? We also talk about the social welfare. the provisions of social welfare service to the masses. Government is there to regulate some activities. In terms of the social welfare, the government made itself available, in other words, to provide this social amenities service. There are many things that individual people cannot provide, but it is the responsibilities of the government to do all these things. So by and large, we are trying to look at the functions of the public administration. Like we have said, we have discussed about the implementations of government policy, that when it comes to the policy, government involved in the implementations of policy. And who are those people that are involved in the implementations of policy? It is the executive arms of government. We also look at the welfare services to the people, like we have said. We also look at the management of the economy. It is the responsibility of government to do what? To manage the economies of the country for the interest of the citizen. Then we also talk about the serving public interest. The government is there to do what? To serve the interest of its citizen. We are talking about the change agent, like we have said, technological change, and the communications too. The government ensures the continuities of the government activities. We have said that. We have also talked about the employment opportunity, the management of resources, then the social amenities. However, the summaries of what we have done so far, we have said, at the end of the day, you should be able to describe the following: the meanings of public administration, then you look at the concept, nature, and the scope of public administration. Also, importance and functions of public administration. Thank you for listening.